My mother sold me to a rich man, but she never imagined what I would do next. I had always known my mother loved money more than she loved me. But I never thought she would put a price tag on my life. It happened on a rainy Thursday evening. I had just turned 16 the week before. My mother called me into the living room. Her voice was unusually soft, almost sweet. That should have been my first warning. Sitting on the couch was a man I had never seen before. He was tall, with perfectly combed silver hair, wearing a suit that probably cost more than our entire apartment. His eyes scanned me slowly, like I was merchandise. "This is Mr. Wallace," my mother said, smiling too widely. "He's going to take care of you." I frowned. Take care of me? Before I could ask, my mother placed her hand on my shoulder. "You'll be moving into his house starting tomorrow," she continued, her voice trembling just slightly. "He's offering us a better life." My stomach sank. I looked at Mr. Wallace, whose smirk told me everything. This wasn't kindness. This was a transaction. "I'm not going anywhere," I said, stepping back. My mother's smile disappeared. Her grip tightened on my arm. "You will, Emily. This is your chance. You'll live in luxury, wear beautiful clothes, and you'll never have to worry about money again." I turned to her, tears welling up. "You're selling me." She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The silence screamed louder than words. Mr. Wallace stood, his voice deep and commanding. "Pack light. I'll send someone for you in the morning." When they left, I locked myself in my room. My hands were shaking, my mind racing. I wanted to run away, but I had no money, no place to go. My mother had trapped me. That night, as the rain tapped against my window, I made myself a promise. If I had to go into that man's world, I would find a way out. And when I did, I would make sure both of them regretted underestimating me. The next morning, a black limousine pulled up in front of our building. My mother didn't even come out of her room to say goodbye. She just slid an envelope into the driver's hand and closed her door. I sat in the back seat, staring at the city as it faded behind us. The further we drove, the larger the houses became, until finally, we turned through iron gates taller than any building in my neighborhood. The mansion looked like something out of a movie: grand pillars, wide stone steps, and windows so clean they reflected the sky. But as I stepped out, the air felt heavy. Inside, a woman in a black uniform greeted me. "I'm Mrs. Dalton, the housekeeper. Follow me." She led me through endless hallways lined with paintings whose eyes seemed to follow me. I noticed certain doors had heavy locks, not simple room locks, but thick, metal bolts. "What's in those rooms?" I asked. Mrs. Dalton didn't look at me. "Rooms you don't need to worry about." She showed me to my bedroom. A massive space with a bed big enough for 3 people, silk curtains, and a balcony overlooking the gardens. On the desk, a single envelope waited. It was from Mr. Wallace. "Emily, you will find life here very comfortable, as long as you follow the rules. Dinner is at 7. Be on time. Do not wander after midnight. And never try to open the locked doors. W." The first few days were quiet. I was given beautiful dresses, expensive jewelry, and more food than I could eat. But there was no warmth, no kindness. On the 4th night, I couldn't sleep. I got up, walked to the hallway, and saw a faint light flickering at the end. One of the locked doors stood slightly open. I heard a sound, a faint sob. Against every warning in my head, I pushed the door open wider. And what I saw inside made my blood run cold. The dim light came from a single lamp on the floor. In the corner, sitting on a thin mattress, was a girl. She couldn't have been older than 15. Her hair was tangled, her dress wrinkled and torn, and her eyes, wide, frightened, locked onto mine the second I stepped inside. "Who are you?" I whispered. She hesitated, then shook her head. "You shouldn't be here. He'll get angry." My chest tightened. Mr. Wallace? She didn't answer directly, but the way she lowered her gaze was all I needed. I took a step closer, but she moved back like a scared animal. Please, just go. Pretend you didn't see me. Before I could say another word, footsteps echoed down the hallway. My heart jumped. I glanced at the girl, her lips trembling, and quickly slipped out, pulling the door shut behind me just as Mrs. Dalton turned the corner. She eyed me suspiciously. You're supposed to be in your room. I forced a smile. I couldn't sleep. Just, walking. Her stare lingered for a long, heavy second before she moved on. Back in my room, I locked the door and pressed my back against it. What was that girl doing here? Why was she locked away? Then it hit me, I wasn't the first. And maybe I wouldn't be the last. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about her face. I had come here planning to survive and escape for my own sake. But now, I knew I couldn't leave alone. If I was going to get out, I'd have to take her with me. Even if it meant risking everything. I spent the next 2 days pretending nothing had happened. I smiled at dinner, thanked Mrs. Dalton for the meals, and even complimented Mr. Wallace on the beautiful home. But inside, I was planning every move. I watched the guards. I learned their shifts. And I noticed something important. At midnight, the hallway cameras went dark for exactly 3 minutes. On the third night, I hid a small butter knife under my sleeve and slipped quietly to the locked room. The door wasn't as complicated as it looked, the old lock gave way after a few twists and a lot of silent praying. The girl, whose name I finally learned was Sophie, stared at me in shock. We're leaving, I whispered. Her hands shook as I pulled her up. We moved quickly, keeping to the shadows. I led her down the back staircase I'd memorized, toward the service door near the garden. But just as we reached it, a deep voice froze us in place. Going somewhere? Mr. Wallace stepped out from the darkness, a glass of wine in his hand, his smile cold and knowing. Emily. I thought you were smarter than this. For a split second, I thought it was over. But then, from behind him, Mrs. Dalton appeared, and to my surprise, she was holding a set of car keys. Go, she hissed. Now. Mr. Wallace turned toward her in confusion, and that was all the time we needed. Sophie and I bolted through the door, sprinting across the wet grass until we reached the back gate. Mrs. Dalton's car was waiting. She drove us into the night without looking back. By morning, we were at the police station, telling everything. It turned out Sophie had been missing for over a year, her parents had never stopped searching. Mr. Wallace was arrested 2 days later. As for my mother, she was charged too, for what she'd done to me. Sophie went home to her family. And I started over, living with a foster family who treated me like I mattered. I had kept my promise. I'd found a way out. But I hadn't just saved myself. I'd made sure they both learned the truth. You can't put a price on someone's freedom.